Hi, this is Greg Dorr with MediaLifeCrisis.com. For this month's PopGap project, I'm watching 20 comedies released since 1970 that I either haven't seen before or saw so long ago that I can't remember them and need to rewatch them. And the next one on the list is a movie that I haven't seen since I saw it in the movie theaters in 1997. That is Men in Black, Barry Sonnenfeld's comedy with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Men in Black is just a big crowd-pleasing action comedy with science fiction elements. It's the kind of movie that I saw in 1997, probably within a week of it coming out, and then quickly forgot about it because there's nothing of any sort of lasting value to it. It's got generally good performances across the board from Smith and Jones and Vincent D'Onofrio and Linda Fiorentino, who was looking great right before her career slipped into oblivion. And it's got neat creature design, and that's probably going to be the thing that I take away from it the most after this viewing, is I really enjoyed some of the aliens, like the little baby alien that Will Smith delivers, and the little tiny alien that lives in the guy's head, the pug that talks. Those were all a lot of fun. However, I sort of expected more from Barry Sonnenfeld when he moved from being the Coen Brothers cinematographer into directing, and the Addams Family movies that he did right out of the gate were pretty dark and interesting, but his movies just got more and more generic and kind of sterile and pedestrian as he went along. And I think Men in Black is sort of the movie that really pushed him along in that vein. It made a lot of money, so why wouldn't he? I'm going to add it to my Flickchart now and see where it ends up for my movies. So, okay, so the first movie that Men in Black comes up against is not an intentionally funny movie. It's Friday the 13th, the final chapter. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Friday the 13th movies. I've been watching them on cable since 1984, and I've seen all of them. A few years ago, I marathoned the whole series, and even the bad ones I kind of enjoyed. So, maybe it's not fair for Men in Black to lose to what is arguably one of the better ones in the series that admittedly is not great filmmaking, but come on, it's got Corey Feldman as a little kid, shaves his head, and acts creepy. It's got Crispin Glover in it. It's got a scene with a guy who's hunting Jason, but Jason catches him and kills him, and someone walks in, and the guy yells, "He's killing me, he's killing me," which is one of the best death scenes in any movie. So, Men in Black just does not have that kind of staying power that a comparatively lesser well-made movie has. So I'm going to vote for Friday the 13th, the final chapter, right here. Alright, so Men in Black is now up against May, which is a movie by Lucky McKee, who is kind of a popular cult director these days, and it stars Angela Bettis, who is like his muse, and I like parts of their movies. I don't think they completely work. May is kind of Carrie-like, and I think it led to Angela Bettis getting cast in the lead of a Carrie remake or sequel that happened right around the early 2000s. Wasn't it Carrie 2 Rage Diaries or something? I can't remember. Anyway, I like parts of May, mostly her performance, but I don't think much of Lucky McKee as a storyteller. I still haven't seen his movie The Woman, which is supposed to be pretty hard to stomach. I'm going to vote for Men in Black here, just because it's a pleasant way to spend an afternoon with my 9-year-old son, who enjoyed the movie about as much as I did, and unlike most movies he sees, he has not mentioned it once in the week since we watched it. So that goes to show. So here's another movie called Monsters that has some kind of neat creature effects at the end, but one of the big complaints people had against Monsters, it's kind of an indie drama, is that there weren't enough monsters in it. Or is it that the people are the real monsters? I'm tired of that trope. But I thought Monsters was fairly well done. The only factor that holds it back for me is I found the main two characters extremely unpleasant to be around for 90 minutes, and I didn't care if they made it through the jungle alive or dead. And that's gonna hurt your movie if I don't like being around the people. And, you know, and that's not to say that I don't like movies about repugnant characters. I think filmmakers can find a way to make those repugnant characters relatable, something that you see that they're striving for. But these guys, they just bickered. I don't like movies where strangers get together and bicker right away, and then supposedly they fall in love. Whatever. Men in Black. So now Men in Black is up against Witchcraft, which I watched last October, when I watched 49 horror movies during the month of October in 2014. It's a good old... I don't think it's Hammer. I think it was a competing studio. But it's a good old British gothic horror movie. It's got Lon Chaney Jr. Very, very good story about a cemetery that is disturbed by construction, I think, and it revives the spirit of this witch who's been dead for centuries, and she comes back to wreak havoc on a modern-day English village. I liked Witchcraft. I mean, I didn't love Witchcraft. I didn't love Men in Black, so this is kind of a tough one. But I think if I had to watch one of the two again today, I'd pick Witchcraft, so I'm going to pick Witchcraft. Ocean's 13 is one of those extremely forgettable Steven Soderbergh heist movies that are full of, you know, really charismatic actors, sort of just goofing around. To be honest, I could not tell you right now what happens in Ocean 11, Ocean 12, and Ocean's 13. They all blend in together to me. Men in Black is... I'm pretty sure if I had seen Men in Black 2 and 3, they would all blend together for me also. I appreciate Soderbergh's craft, and I do like the actors in the Ocean's movies better than the actors in Men in Black. So I'm going to give Ocean's 13 the edge here, but I really don't care. Well, now, Phantasm 4 Oblivion, I'm sorry to say, is a movie that I watched just last October, or maybe, I don't know, maybe January or February. I wish I could tell you that I remembered what happened in it. I marathoned the Phantasm movies, and I can't remember if... Well, this one's about in the lower middle of my chart. Okay, so it's one of the ones that I kind of liked, but didn't think was totally worthless. In which case, I did like Phantasm 4 a little bit. It's not as good... Okay, I don't even know why I'm agonizing over this. It's not as good as Men in Black, which is, even if it's a bit, you know, ho-hum, it's at least competent in most regards, and I can't say I felt that way about any of the Phantasm sequels. Alright, so now, I reviewed Snatch earlier this month for the same PopGap list that I'm doing Men in Black for, comedies released since 1970. And here is Guy Ritchie's precursor to that, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I probably should rewatch this. I don't have a great memory of it. However, it's stylish and a little bit groundbreaking, even though I find Guy Ritchie ultimately kind of shallow. Men in Black is also shallow, but Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I think, had a lot more energy put into the script and the overall product. I'm going to give that the edge here. So now Men in Black is up against Jonathan Glazer's recent Under the Skin, in which Scarlett Johansson plays an alien who is combing Glasgow for man food. And I wasn't a huge fan of Under the Skin. I did find the first hour of it pretty dull. I think it really picks up when she meets the Elephant Man guy, and I really liked the last scene with her in the forest. I thought that was extremely cool. So it's a movie that I felt maybe was 45 minutes longer than it should have been. But I do like it better than Men in Black. It's something that sort of sticks with me a little bit better. All right, so Trans-Siberian. This was a thriller. Emily Mortimer and Woody Harrelson, they're on a train going through the Russian, Siberia, maybe there's another name for that area. And there's something to do with some money, and some people are trying to get their hands on it. Some other people are trying to get their hands on it. Some people die. There's some blood. There's some people walking through the snow and getting blood in the snow. All that kind of stuff. It's a pretty... I think it was a movie that I didn't mind watching while I was watching it, but it's not really a movie that sticks with you in any meaningful way. It's just a very run-of-the-mill indie thriller with Woody Harrelson, Ben Kingsley, obviously, and Emily Mortimer. I probably watched it just for her because I have a wee bit of a crush on her. Men in Black is the better movie of these two. It's more fun. It's got some things that distinguish it, the character designs I was talking about, so I'm going to vote for Men in Black there. Well, now Men in Black is up against The Cotton Club, which is Francis Ford Coppola's movie about gangsters and jazz in 1920s Harlem. I don't think The Cotton Club is a very good movie. But there's something about Richard Gere, there's something about the performances. They're so wooden in The Cotton Club that I almost feel like it's a style. And I like Richard Gere in it, even though I don't think he's very good in it. Diane Lane is super hot in it. She's just coming off stuff like Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains, and getting into more mainstream movies. Super cute. But my favorite performance is the guy, the old man from Poltergeist 2, who says, "You are gonna die!" That guy plays a character named Abba Dabba, who has one of my all-time favorite movie lines in The Cotton Club, where Richard Gere says something to him about his mother, and Abba Dabba says, "I never had no mother. I was born in a garbage pail." Which alone is going to put that over Men in Black. Now Men in Black is up against The Bling Ring, which is a movie that got a fair amount of criticism when it came out a couple years ago. It's a Sofia Coppola movie about the true story of a group of rich, spoiled, amoral teenage girls in like the Beverly Hills, Bel Air area of Los Angeles, who decide to like start stealing things, and they go on these heists. I think, doesn't it start at Paris Hilton's house or something? And they Instagram themselves or Facebook themselves while they're stealing things, and eventually they get caught. I think it got accused of being a fairly shallow movie, but I think that was an error. It's about shallow people who behave poorly, and I thought it had some really interesting stuff in it, and I actually kind of liked it. I'm going to vote for it over Men in Black. Obviously, I don't love it if it's around this part of my chart, but I think it's a little bit unfairly maligned. Out of the Blue is a movie we did for PopGap back in March when we did Punk Movies Month. It's a Dennis Hopper movie that has been completely forgotten by history. It's about a young girl played by Linda Mans. She's a teenager. She's sort of a misfit. She's got horrible parents. She decides that she loves Elvis and punk rock, and somehow doesn't see any conflict between the two of those. She even, I think, talks about how Elvis is punk rock at one point, or someone says it to her. Anyway. And it's got like a super shocking ending. Woo! The ending literally comes out of the blue. That's where the title comes from. Out of the Blue was not a movie that really worked for me very well. as a package, but I did like parts of it. If only just for the opening scene in which Dennis Hopper is driving his semi-truck with his daughter wearing a clown nose. I mean, that's good stuff. There's some pretty shocking stuff in Out of the Blue. It's a bit ham-fisted and annoying. Men in Black is the better movie of the two, but Out of the Blue is something that you should probably seek out if you're into weird, failed movies from the late 1970s. After I watched Out of the Blue, I looked it up in Peter Biskin's book, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, because I knew it had a lot in there about Dennis Hopper, and I wanted to see what Biskin had to say about Out of the Blue. But he not only completely ignores it, he makes some comment about how after the last movie, Dennis Hopper's 1971 movie, that Dennis Hopper didn't work again for 20 years. So even Biskin completely erased Out of the Blue from the pages of history. So it's interesting anyway. More interesting than talking about Men in Black, which ends up at $18.99 on my Flickchart, which seems pretty low. Let's go ahead and see what percentile that puts it at. It puts it in the 39 percentile for me. Maybe a tad low, but like I said before, it's a well-done movie. It just means nothing to me and isn't something that I'm going to think about after I finish recording this and post the review to MediaLifeCrisis.com. So let's see how it matches up against other action comedies. Oh, well, I should have done sci-fi comedy. I'm going to do action comedies here, and then we'll do sci-fi comedies when we do Back to the Future 3. So here is Flickchart's global rankings. You can see Men in Black comes in at number 9 on the site's global rankings for action comedies. It's going to be a bit lower for mine, I can tell you that. So up at the top of my list is a movie that not very many people seem to appreciate. I love Observe and Report. I thought it was brilliant. It's Jody Hill's movie with Seth Rogen as a mall security guard who is on antidepressants, and he goes off his meds in a very serious way. It's actually kind of a serious movie about bipolar disorder. It's I think it's a movie that I need to watch it again, but I don't think it gets its due. So here we have Romancing the Stone, which is a terrific movie that really holds up well from the 1980s. Super. It's not that funny of a movie. It's pretty grim. Scott Pilgrim, Jackie Chan's Police Story, which we did last month, 2 months ago for Kung Fu movies. Another Jackie Chan movie, Blues Brothers, 48 Hours, more Jackie Chan. Yojimbo, which isn't that funny to me. I don't know why it keeps getting called a comedy. It's light compared to other Kurosawa movies. That doesn't make it funny to me. Beverly Hills Cop, more Jackie Chan, Peking Opera Blues, Robert De Niro in an action comedy. Oh, Midnight Run, great movie. A great movie that I hope is still being seen these days. So let's see. I'm gonna switch the views here, and I'm gonna expand this and see if Men in Black ends up in my top 50. It should. Hot Fuzz, a movie people just go crazy about. I don't think it's going to be in the top 50. Ah, there it is, number 50. Right underneath Inner Space, the fun monster movie Infestation. Maybe this ranking is a little bit harsh on it, seeing what's above it. You Don't Mess with the Zohan, which was surprisingly funny. But you know what? I don't care enough about Men in Black to re-rank it at this time. Maybe it will happen naturally. So that does it for Men in Black. As always, you can read my reviews of the PopGap movies at MediaLifeCrisis.com. You can find me on Twitter at PopGap, where I live tweet watching these movies, usually after 11 or midnight Pacific Standard Time. Also, I'm on Flickchart and Letterboxd as Dork, and until then, thanks a lot. Bye.